Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming OCS exams happening in February 2025. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to take you through examiners' comments to make sure that you gain a good understanding of what you are supposed to do when conducting your preparations and what you're supposed to achieve at your real examination. Then I will also talk about what you need to do to rebound from failure, especially if you had attempted the OCS exam previously, since the results were released last Thursday. You might be preparing for the upcoming February session as well, and with the intention of ensuring that you understand most of the pitfalls experienced by students, and with the intention of ensuring that you take steps to overcome each of these issues. I will be sharing these tips with you, and I'll also highlight what you need to achieve to develop a high level of confidence, because you just have this week onwards, you just have 4 weeks at your disposal. So it's of utmost importance that you maintain a positive mindset across the upcoming 4 weeks. And at the very end of today's session, I will also talk about what you need to do to manage your stress levels. And I expect you to practice these stress management techniques on top of what you learned in last week's webinar, in which I taught you answering and time management techniques. I want you to keep practicing stress management techniques as well when attempting your upcoming workshops. If so, you will be in a position to successfully manage your stress levels at your real examination. All right, so let me quickly remind you of the upcoming workshops which we have scheduled for you. So we are kickstarting the workshop series next week onwards. So the first workshop is focused on your P1 syllabus. So I will explain at this workshop the type of syllabus elements which will be tested at your examination. And at the same time, I will take you through one of the mock exams which we have developed and explain how you should structure your answer. And when selecting this question, I will select a question from your P1 syllabus. And just like this, in the workshops which we have scheduled for you, I will also take you through questions to do with your F1 and E1 syllabi. And in each of these workshops, I will be opening up for a Q&A, because as per our study plan, when you are attending these workshops, you should be done with at least one or two mock exams. So definitely you will have questions, and the best way to get them answered is to attend these workshops without fail. And the final workshop, which happens a day or two before your real examination, I will be sharing last minute tips with you to make sure that you walk into the exam with a confidence, high level of confidence, and at the same time believing in your skill set. So all these workshops are conducted free of charge. So make use of these free resources which are on offer, thereby getting in touch with us on a weekly basis. All right, so let's try to understand what your examiner tells us. First things first, if you are to develop high quality answers, let's try to figure out what you need to achieve as per the Cima examiner. So your answers should be extremely relevant to the requirement. So that's exactly why I said in previous week's webinar, when I was teaching you an answering technique, I highlighted the fact that you are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise or simpler manner before you start developing your answer plan. So if you missed out on the third webinar, please go watch the recorded version, which is accessible via our free content via our website. And on top of that, the same video can be accessed via our YouTube handle. So if you missed out on last week's webinar, it's essential that you go watch it, because in it, I taught you an answering and time management technique. And as part of the answering technique, I highlighted the fact that it's of utmost importance that you clearly understand the requirement. And the best way to understand the requirement clearly is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simpler manner, because when you have a simplified requirement at your disposal, it makes your life easy when developing the answer plan. And if you're halfway through the answer plan, you can always refer back to a simplified requirement and in a jiffy understand whether you are headed in the correct direction. So I'm not saying this. The examiner wants you to develop answers which are totally relevant to the requirement, because most students end up failing the OCS exam simply given the fact that they are not in a position to clearly understand the requirement. Because if you misunderstand the requirement, you will come up with an answer which will not carry any marks. So you should focus your attention towards the relevance of your answers to the requirement. And on top of that, the examiner tests whether you have the appropriate level of theoretical knowledge, or in other terms, technical knowledge. And at the same time, the examiner is testing whether you have the ability to apply your knowledge in a practical sense. So I, again highlighted these things in previous week's webinar, because as I mentioned in the last three webinars, actually, I mentioned this fact that the Cima exam is testing your knowledge in a practical sense. So when conducting your preparations, it is of utmost importance that you learn all theoretical elements, and at the same time you have to understand how each syllabus area is tested at a case study setting. So what am I talking about? Let me quickly direct your attention towards one of the mock exams which we have developed. So this is taken from mock exam 4. So the fourth mock paper which we have developed. So as you can see, there's a question where you are supposed to explain the attached chart. And let's see what the chart is all about. So this is the chart. See, this is a multi-product break-even chart. You are supposed to explain it and also highlight the advantages and disadvantages of carrying out a break-even analysis on our new MODIS range. So this question consists of two main elements, and this question is developed to test your understanding about multi-product break-even analysis. So there's a table as well with the relevant CS ratios and whatnot. So you need to have the capability to understand this table as well as this graph. If not, you will not gain any marks for this type of a question. So I've seen students, when conducting their preparations, there's a tendency for them to leave out certain theoretical elements just because these theoretical elements are a bit hard relative to the other areas which appear within your E1, F1, and P1 syllabi. You are not supposed to do this. Why am I telling this? Because if you look at the weightage of this question, it comes up to 40%, which comes up to something like 15 marks. So if you forget about break-even analysis when conducting your preparations, but at your exam, if you get this type of a question, you will end up losing 15 marks. And the same could be said about another area students usually leave out, is to do with linear programming graphs. So there's a requirement. You are supposed to explain the graph and describe the optimum production plan. Also determine how we can overcome binding constraints and how we can set the maximum price when purchasing additional resources. So the examiner has given you a linear programming graph. And if you leave out linear programming when you are conducting preparations, most students do that. If you leave out linear programming, you will, and if a linear programming related question appears at your real examination, you will end up losing a lot of marks, because this type of subtask will usually carry a weightage between 50 to 60%. This question carries a weightage of 52%, which indicates that you'd be losing out 22.5 marks at your real examination. So you are not expected to leave out any syllabus elements. Instead, when conducting your preparations, it's essential that you go through all syllabus elements and that you are conversant with how each syllabus area is tested at your exam. So just knowing your theories won't help. You need to really work on your application skills as well, because the questions are developed to test your application skills. So you might know what a linear programming graph is. However, if you don't know how to apply it, considering the information presented in each scenario, then you won't get any marks. So you really need to work on your technical knowledge and application skills. So if you have theoretical knowledge gaps or issues with application, you need not worry. We have developed a set of master classes. I will explain what these master classes are in a little while. So we have developed a set of master classes primarily with the intention of ensuring that you gain the necessary technical knowledge or the theoretical knowledge covering all syllabus elements, and at the same time, you will also significantly improve your application skills. And at the exam, you are supposed to provide well-structured answers. So the examiner is hell-bent about ensuring that you structure your answer properly. That's exactly why I mentioned the fact that you need to spend a considerable amount of your time towards developing something called answer plans. So I explained these things again in previous week's webinar when I was teaching you answering and time management techniques. As per what I highlighted in previous week's webinar, you are supposed to allocate something like 15 to 20 minutes of your time on a section by section basis towards something called developing an answer plan. So when developing an answer plan, you are spending some time to plan out your answer. This is when you are trying to figure out whether you are developing an answer which is totally aligned with the requirement at hand, and at the same time ensuring that you are bringing in relevant theoretical knowledge with the intention of coming up with the best type of answer, and at the same time figuring out whether you can bring in some relevant information from your pre-seen document. So when you are spending a separate amount of time, 15 to 20 minutes of your time on a section by section basis to develop an answer plan, to plan out your answer, then you will come up with well-structured answers. Also, again, in last week's webinar, I said that whilst developing the answer plan, always refer back to the simplified requirement to see whether you are headed in the correct direction, to see whether your answer is totally aligned with the requirement. So that's exactly why you need to spend your time and effort on developing answer plans. Just because you know this technique, it won't help you. You need to keep practicing answering and time management techniques when attempting the 6 mock exams. If so, you will champion these techniques by the time you are walking into your real examination. So you have to develop well-structured answers, and at the same time, when developing answers or when finalizing your answer, you need to provide answers in paragraphs. Again, I highlighted the fact that in last week's webinar, I highlighted the fact that per answer point, you need to develop a paragraph. So for a certain subtask, if you decided to include 7 valid points, then in your final answer, you need to have 7 paragraphs, and you need to separate your paragraphs, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. So all these things I explained in depth, both in a theoretical and practical sense in last week's webinar. So if you missed out on it, it's essential that you go watch the recorded version. And whenever you are presenting your arguments, you need to back it up with appropriate justification. So at this examination, the only type of recommendations which you need to come up with is with regards to suggesting KPIs. So when suggesting KPIs, you are not simply supposed to suggest a KPI. Instead, you need to back it up with appropriate arguments, thereby justifying as to why you are recommending a certain key performance indicator. So when tackling questions to do with KPIs, always make sure you justify each KPI. If not, you won't get any marks. So if you have to get good answers, you are supposed to develop answers which are totally aligned with the requirement. You need to show to the examiner that you possess the appropriate level of technical knowledge, as well as you possess the application skills. You are supposed to develop well-structured answers which are in paragraph form. And when bringing out an argument or when recommending something, you have to back it up with appropriate justifications. So if you stick to our answering and time management techniques, you will fulfill all these requirements in a comfortable manner. And at the same time, if you attempt all 6 mock exams and keep practicing the answering and time management techniques, you will gain a good understanding of how each syllabus element which appears within your E1, F1, and P1 syllabi is tested at your real examination. Okay? Then, before the exam, what are you expected to do? You are supposed to study all areas of the syllabus. So, it is not me who is saying this, it is the Cima examiner who is asking you to study all syllabus areas. That's exactly why I said, when conducting preparations, you are not supposed to leave out certain theoretical elements just because they are hard. Because if it's tested at your exam, as I highlighted earlier, you will end up losing a lot of marks. So you have to be conversant with all syllabus elements. That's exactly why we at TCS, we have developed 6 mock exams, because it takes 6 mocks to cover all syllabus elements. You cannot simply expect to cover all syllabus elements by attempting just 2 or 3 mock exams. If so, you'd be testing your luck at your real examination. So in order to cover all syllabus elements, attempt 6 mock exams. And you need to work on your application skills before when conducting your preparations before the examination. So this is why you need to attempt pre-scene specific and exam standard mock exams, because the examiner tries to test whether you can read the information presented in each scenario and develop answers which are totally aligned with the scenario's information, and at the same time develop answers which are totally aligned with what appears within your pre-scene, the internal and external dynamics of your chosen company. So that's exactly why you, when conducting your preparations, you need to attempt pre-scene specific mock exams. There's absolutely no point of referring to past variants or past papers, simply given the fact that these past variants are based on different pre-scenes, and the information presented in each pre-scene is totally different within each other. And you are supposed to practice tasks, and when practicing tasks, you are supposed to type or write full answers. So what are full answers? Full answers are supposed to be a situation where you, just like in your real examination, where you are supposed to attempt mock exams which carry 4 sections, because at the exam, the examiner is not just testing your technical knowledge as well as application skills. The examiner is also trying to figure out whether you have the necessary skills to manage a stressful situation, because in this day and age, as management accountants, we'd have to work under extreme levels of stress. So the examiner is also testing your stress management capabilities. So the best way to be exposed to a stressful situation or stressors which you'd encounter at the exam, the best way to face similar type of issues is to attempt full mock exams which carry 4 sections. So rather than attempting mock exams on a subtask by subtask basis or section by section basis, you need to sit in one place, allocate 3 hours of your time, and attempt the entire mock exam in one go, which carries 4 sections, because that's exactly what you'd do at your real examination. So practice is essential. That's exactly why we have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system, on which you can attempt each of your mock exams under exam conditions. And when you practice answering time management and stress management techniques across the mock exams which we have developed, you will champion these techniques. If so, you'd be extremely comfortable at your real examination. So before the exam, these are the things which you need to achieve. And during the exam, again, the examiner tells us to plan our answers. So this is why you need to master the answering technique. If not, you will not come up with well-planned or well-structured answers, because most students out there, what they do is, right after reading through the scenario, they start typing the fully fledged answer or the final answer. And halfway through, they realize that they are headed in the wrong direction. They'll end up deleting the entire answer. Then they'd have to start from scratch. And when this happens, you know for a fact that you had wasted a lot of time, and this your brain will keep reminding you that you have lost a lot of time. So because of that, you'd try to come up with half-hearted or rushed answers, and you'd end up failing once more. So in order to avoid these type of inefficiencies, you need to stick to our answering technique, in which I mentioned the fact that you need to allocate 5 minutes of your time to read through the scenario. 20 minutes of your time should be allocated towards answer planning, and the remaining 20 minutes should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan in paragraph form, thereby typing out your fully fledged answer. So at the exam, you are supposed to plan your answers. If you are to plan your answers in a successful manner at your exam, you need to keep practicing answer planning technique across the 6 mock exams which we have developed, because if you do so, it's as if you are replicating the answering and time management techniques across the 6 mock exams 24 times over, that's enough and more time to get your bearings with this technique and to champion this technique and implement this successfully at your real examination. And the marker is under strict instructions to mark answers on their merits. So there's absolutely no point of you thinking about a word limit or a word count when developing your answers. Instead, as I highlighted in previous week's webinar, you are supposed to look at the weightage provided under each subtask. The weightage indicates the mark allocation. By understanding the mark allocation, you can easily determine how many points, answer points should appear under each and every subtask. So if you cannot understand what I'm highlighting, simply watch last week's webinar, because I've explained a methodology which you can practice, which you're supposed to practice with the intention of understanding the mark allocations and developing answers which are totally aligned with mark allocations. And since the examiner is looking at the quality of your answers, it's essential that you master this technique where you develop answers which are totally aligned with mark allocations. If so, you will never come up with answers which are too short or too long. Your answers will be totally aligned with the weightage provided or the marks allocated under each subtask. All right, so let's try to understand how your papers are marked. Mark allocation for each subtask appears as a percentage under each requirement, as I mentioned earlier. So if you look at this subtask B carries a weightage of 52%. So the total mark allocation for each section is 37.5 marks. So 52% of 37.5 marks come up to something like 22 or 22.5 marks. Let's say that 22 marks are allocated. So each valid point carries 2 or 3 marks. So in order to gain 22 marks, you need to come up with something like 7 to 11 valid points under this subtask. And then let's assume, since you need to come up with 7 to 11 valid points, let's assume you came up with 10 valid points. When developing the answer plan, you have to ensure that you have 10 valid points within your plan. Then when it comes to expanding the answer plan, you need to have 10 paragraphs, 10 separate paragraphs within your fully fledged or your final answer. So all these things were explained in depth in previous week's webinar. Please go watch the recorded version if you missed it. And marks are allocated based on merit. So the examiner picks quality over quantity. There's absolutely no point of thinking about a word count or a word limit. Instead, think in terms of answer points. And when determining the answer points for each subtask, look at the weightage. Based on the weightage, determine the mark allocations. Aligned with the mark allocations, determine how many points should appear under each subtask. Okay, so although this looks simple, you won't get it right in the first instance itself. You need to master this technique. With the intention of mastering this technique, keep repeating these techniques over and over across the 6 mock exams. If so, you will be extremely comfortable at your real examination. Okay, so before we move on to the remaining parts of the webinar, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the OCS page. If you are yet to create a free user account and check our free content, click on this button and create your free user account. When you have access to the free user account, click on the button which reads as Access Dashboard. Go to My Courses. Then in front of OCS Free, you'd see Access Content. Click on the button. Then under the Videos tab, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops which we have conducted. So as I've mentioned earlier, if you missed out on last week's essential webinar, then go watch the recorded version, which can be accessed via our website itself. Then you'd also gain access to the free study material, which are the pre-seen mind map, which makes your life easy when it comes to remembering the most important points which appear within your pre-seen document. And you'd also gain access to the answer plan of the free mock exam. You'd also gain access to the free mock exam, the questions and the answers, suggested answers. And via the exams tab, by clicking on this button, you have the opportunity of attempting the free mock exam, which is the first mock exam offered by TCS. under exam conditions via our exam platform. We have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system on which you'd attempt your real examination. So this is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. Put your knowledge into test when attempting the free mock exam under exam conditions. Then you'd understand what your shortcomings are. And once you have understood your shortcomings, you can take steps to overcome them in the upcoming 4 weeks. All right, so make use of the free resources on offer by creating a free user account. And if you are interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and check our sample material before you do so. And if you are yet to join our OCS WhatsApp discussion forum, click on this button and join it. Via this group, you'd gain access to hordes of free resources. And at the same time, if you have any questions or concerns, you can post them on the WhatsApp group. I'm always there to help you guys out. And talking about what we offer 2 main packages, the value pack and the premium pack. The value pack is designed for those who are coming through the Cima general route or those who had completed their E1, F1, and P1 OTQ examinations. So since you have completed your OTQs, you are already conversant with theoretical elements. You simply need to work on your application skills. So if you opt for the value pack, you'd get your hands on the recordings of all webinars and workshops, which we conduct on a weekly basis. You will gain access to the 6 mock exams with suggested answers. So on top of the free mock exam, which is mock number 1, you will gain access to 5 additional mock exams. And we have made sure to cover all syllabus elements when developing these 6 mock exams, as I mentioned earlier. You'd also gain access to 4 pre-scene analysis videos. Once you have watched these 4 pre-scene analysis videos, you will gain an in-depth understanding of what appears within your pre-scene document. You need not conduct your own research based on the pre-scene. We have done it for you. You will also gain access to the annotated pre-scene industry analysis and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you what I'm talking about. So this is the annotated pre-scene which we developed for your case study. So as you can see, we have come up with tutor annotations with the intention of summarizing the entire pre-scene, which is the best way to gain a clear understanding of the relevant information which appears within your pre-scene document. And at the same time, we have also highlighted probable exam scenarios which can be tested based on the hints provided by the Cima examiner via the pre-scene document. And based on these probable exam scenarios, we have also highlighted the syllabus elements which can be tested. And when developing the 6 mock exams, we have made sure to cover all these elements within our mock exams. So once you have gained access to this annotated pre-scene, you can easily gain an in-depth understanding of what appears within your pre-scene, and based on it, the type of scenarios which can be thrown at you at your real exam, and based on these scenarios, the type of syllabus elements which can be tested. And talking about the industry analysis slides, this consists of 4 main elements. In the first part, we have defined the industry. Then we have also highlighted facts and figures about the competitive landscape and industry trends, mind you, based on these 2 elements, based on the industry dynamics and industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And at the very end, we have considered 2 real-life companies, thereby explaining to you what real-life companies go through within your chosen industry. So you need not conduct your own industry analysis. We have done it for you. Simply within 10 minutes, if you go through this set of slides, you'd gain an in-depth understanding of what your industry is up to and what real-life companies go through within your chosen industry. And we have also included a set of financial analysis slides. And via these slides, we have evaluated each financial statement, which appears towards the very end of your pre-scene document. We have evaluated each financial statement in depth, yet we have kept things simple so that you can easily understand what appears within each financial statement. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, as well as the statement of cash flows. And we have also conducted a ratio analysis. Again, we have evaluated each ratio in depth to make sure that you gain a good understanding about the financial standing of your chosen company. So these resources appear under the value pack. And you'd also gain access to top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable syllabus elements which can be tested at your exam. You'd also gain access to a case study familiarization kit. Once you have read through this familiarization kit, within 10 to 15 minutes, you stand a chance of getting an in-depth understanding of the technicalities of your OCS examination. You'd also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat and OTQ revision cards. So as I mentioned earlier, the value pack is intended for students who have completed their OTQ exam. So after attempting each mock exam, when conducting your revision, if you struggled with a certain subtask, then simply refer to the revision cards to see, or refer to the revision cards to brush up your theoretical knowledge, or to gain a better understanding about theoretical elements. Because when conducting your revision, rather than blindly going through the suggested answers, it's best that you brush up your knowledge by referring to our OTQ revision cards. You need not refer to your old notes or your study texts. Simply refer to the OTQ revision cards to brush up your knowledge about theoretical elements in a jiffy. So the value pack is priced at £199. Then moving on to the premium pack, this package is designed for those who are coming through the exemption route, and at the same time, those who had failed their OCS exam previously. So both sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theoretical knowledge and issues with application. So we have developed an additional set of resources under the premium pack with the intention of ensuring that you learn theory and improve application skills within an extremely short period of time. So if you opt for the premium pack, you'd gain access to what appears under the value pack. Additionally, you'd also gain access to the online mock exam platform on which you can attempt all 6 mock exams under real exam conditions. This is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. You will also receive one-on-one tutor feedback on the last 3 mock exams, which are mocks 4, 5, and 6. Let me quickly show you the type of feedback which we offer at TCS. So as you can see, we have evaluated each point in depth, and we have highlighted, we offer this type of feedback with the intention of highlighting your issues, because without understanding your issues, you cannot take steps to overcome your issues. So the best way to learn understand your issues and to take steps to overcome your issues is to opt for tutor feedback. So this is the type of feedback, in-depth feedback, which we offer at TCS. And at the very end of this answer script, we have provided mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. We have also indicated a success rate as well. By looking at this success rate, you can easily understand the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So the subtasks which, or the areas which are highlighted in yellow, indicate where you have not done a good job. So after receiving tutor feedback, when conducting your revision, you are expected to redevelop answer plans. When redeveloping answer plans, rather than redeveloping answer plans focused on the entire mock exam, simply focus on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. This is the best way to conduct your revision with the intention of overcoming your shortcomings. And once you have developed your new set of answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's answer plans to gain a better understanding of how you can significantly improve the quality of your answers. And we have provided general comments at the very end as well. All right, so that's the type of feedback you'd get under the premium pack. You'd also gain access to the answer plans of all 6 mock exams. This is the best and the easiest way to conduct your revision. So on top of the mock exams and the suggested answers, we are also providing answer plans for each of our 6 mock exams. And when you have when you can access these answer plans, you can easily learn the logic behind each answer. You can easily understand what type of theoretical elements should be brought in when developing the answer, and how to bring in theoretical elements. And at the same time, you will gain a good understanding of how to bring in relevant pre-seen information as and when needed. So when conducting your revision, these answer plans will come in handy, because as I mentioned earlier, after you are done with a mock exam, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans on your own. Once you have redeveloped answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to our answer plans to further improve your knowledge and improve the quality of your answers. So this is a summary of each suggested answer. So rather than going through pages and pages of suggested answers and trying to figure out, the logic behind each answer, trying to figure out how to structure each answer, this is the best way to understand how you can improve your answer structures. Because if you focus your attention towards improving the quality of your answer structures, as per what the Cima examiner told us, you will end up receiving a lot of marks at your real examination. So that's these answer plans are included within the premium pack. You'd also gain access to 20 master classes. So from mock 2 onwards, we have developed master classes focused on each mock exam. So in each mock exam, there are 4 sections or 4 tasks, just like in your real exam. 4 sections into 5 mocks come up to 20 mocks, 20 subtasks in total. 20 sections in total, and focused on each section, we have developed master classes. And the objective of developing these master classes is to teach you the logic behind each answer, and at the same time teach you the relevant theoretical element which is covered within the mock exam, and to teach you application skills. So the best way to learn theory and at the same time improve application is to gain access to these master classes, because these master classes are totally aligned with the mock exams which we have developed. This is the best way to learn theory and improve application in a jiffy by gaining access to these master classes. And once you have access to all this content, you can pass for sure, hence the pass guarantee. So if you invest on the premium pack and end up failing, you will gain access to the premium content in your subsequent sitting free of charge. However, in order to claim the pass guarantee, you have to complete these 3 requirements. You have to complete all 6 mock exams. If not, we cannot ensure that you'd pass, because if you invest on the premium pack, yet if you attempt just 1 or 2 mock exams and expect to pass the examination, that is not going to happen. As I've mentioned, as the Cima examiner has mentioned, you have to be conversant with each syllabus element, and you need to know how each syllabus area is tested at the exam. So it's essential that you attempt all 6 mock exams. Then when attempting each mock exam, you have to do it on your own. You are not supposed to refer to the suggested answers, the answer plans, or the master classes before attempting each mock exam. Instead, attempt each mock exam on your own. Give your best shot. This is the best way to understand what your shortcomings are. If not, if you refer to the answers, you are cheating yourself. Then you will never understand what your shortcomings are, because when conducting your preparations, it's essential that you understand your shortcomings. If so, you can take steps to overcome each of your shortcomings. And you are supposed to meet the performance criteria of 40% or higher for the last 3 mock exams. We have come up with this performance criteria to make sure that you do a serious job when attempting the last 3 mocks, especially given the fact that you are receiving tutor feedback for them. And once you have completed these 3 requirements, you will pass for sure. That's why we provide a pass guarantee under the premium pack. So the premium pack is priced at £599, which can be paid in 2 installments of £249 each, or you can opt to pay in full. If so, you will save £100 and the price will be just £499. So you can click on either of these buttons and invest on your preferred package. Let me quickly take you to the OCS study plan to see what you need to achieve within this week, which can be accessed within our website itself. So according to the study plan, we are in week number 4. You are supposed to allocate 9 hours of study time within this week, and you are supposed to direct your attention towards mock number 3 within the upcoming week. So you are supposed to attempt the 3rd mock exam via our exam platform, which is going to take you 3 hours. Then you are supposed to watch the 4 master classes to learn theory and improve application skills. And this is going to take you something like 3 hours again. And then you are supposed to redevelop answer plans focused on mock exam 3. So you are supposed to redevelop answer plans with the intention of conducting your revision, with the intention of mastering your answering technique or your answer structures. And this will again take 3 hours of your time. So this is the only thing which you're supposed to do within this week. And if you stick to the study plan, and if you complete attempting mock exam 3, watching the master classes and redeveloping answer plans, you need not do anything else. In the upcoming week, which is week number 5, you are supposed to direct your attention towards mock number 4. So if you are yet to start preparations, you still have time. This is an 8-week study plan which we have developed. We started this study plan about 3 weeks back. Yet, if you are attending this webinar right after receiving your results, and if you are going to reattempt your OCS exams, which are happening in February, don't worry, you need not stick to this study plan. Please drop me a message via the WhatsApp group, or you can simply direct message me via WhatsApp. I will share a personalized study plan with you. So if you are yet to start preparations, you still have time. However, if you have already stuck to this study plan, you simply need to allocate 9 hours of study time and focus your attention towards mock number 3 within this week. All right. So if you're yet to start your preparations, don't worry, you still have time. Simply direct message me or drop a message via the WhatsApp group. I will get in touch with you personally and share a personalized study plan with you. All right, so that's what we offer at TCS. Having said that, let's try to figure out what you need to do to rebound from failure. So there could be a set of students who attempted the exams, OCS exams, which were held in November, yet who couldn't clear it. So before you start preparations focused on the upcoming case study exam, you need to conduct your own personal reflection to figure out whether you gave your best shot in the last sitting. So when conducting this personal reflection, focus on these elements, which I'm going to discuss in a while. Try to figure out whether you committed the same mistakes. If so, you need to take steps to overcome each of these mistakes. So in a little while, I'm going to take you through these pitfalls, and for each pitfall, with the intention of ensuring that you overcome each issue, I will also suggest solutions. So you need to conduct your personal reflection and try to figure out what went wrong during the exam. So you need to diagnose the reasons first and address them this time. If not, you'd keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again in the upcoming weeks when conducting your preparations, and you'd end up failing the OCS exam once more in the February sitting. So you need to really understand your shortcomings and get to the root of the problems and eradicate these problems in the upcoming 4 weeks when conducting your preparations. If not, you'd end up failing the OCS exam once more. So you can overcome your issues by referring to our 6 mock exams, the suggested answers and the answer plans. And on top of that, if you gained low marks in the previous sitting, it's essential that you seek tutor feedback, because if you failed the OCS exam previously, then it indicates the fact that there is something wrong with your answers. It could be something to do with your application skills. It could be something to do with your theoretical knowledge. So if you gained less than 70 marks, it indicates that you have gaps in theoretical knowledge as well as application skills. So on the other hand, if you gained more than 70 marks, it appears that you have already mastered your theoretical elements. You need to work on your application skills. So the best way to understand your shortcomings is to opt for tutor feedback. If not, you'd keep repeating the same mistakes over and over, because at a case study examination, you can't do everything on your own. It's best that you seek for tutor feedback, because once you go through our tutor feedback, you'd gain an in-depth understanding of what is wrong with your answers. Then you can take steps to overcome these issues when conducting your preparations. So the action plan when conducting preparations for the upcoming sitting should be to work smarter than the previous attempt, which is to simply focus your attention towards attempting the 6 mocks under exam conditions. After you have attempted the 6 mock exams, watch the master classes to understand how you should have developed your answers, how you should have structured your answers. Watch the master classes to learn the relevant theoretical elements and to improve your application skills. And once you have watched the master classes, test your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans on your own. And once you have redeveloped your answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's answer plans to further improve your understanding. So this is the smartest way of conducting your preparations. There's absolutely no point of you referring to your past notes and study texts and spending a lot of time to learn theory, because theories are not directly tested at the exam. Instead, your application skills are tested. So because of that, it's essential that you stick to our study plan. If you do so, you can complete all your preparations. You can be conversant with how each syllabus element is tested at your exam. You can significantly improve your theoretical knowledge and application skills. You can significantly improve your answer structuring or answer planning skills within an extremely short period of time. All right, so let's try to figure out the common reasons which led to a failure in the previous sitting. So practicing just 2 or 3 mocks is the most common issue because, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot cover the entire syllabus simply by practicing 2 or 3 mock exams. If you have to cover all syllabus elements, it's essential that you attempt 6 mock exams. You would have seen this when looking at past exam variants as well. For each sitting, the examiner develops 6 different variants. So why 6 different variants? Because it takes 6 variants or 6 papers to cover all syllabus elements. That's exactly why we offer 6 mock exams via our study system. So you have to practice. If you practice just 2 or 3 mocks last time, you have to make up your mind to practice 6 mock exams this time. And inappropriate answering and time management technique is a killer as well. Most students are clueless about an answering technique. As I mentioned earlier, most students, right after reading through the scenario, end up typing out their final answer. You are not expected to do it. Instead, you are, according to our answering technique, you are supposed to allocate 5 minutes of your time to read, 20 minutes of your time to plan, and the remaining 20 minutes should be allocated towards typing your final answer in paragraph form. So you need to improve your answering technique. And on top of that, most students run out of time at the OCS examination. So you can overcome this issue of running out of time by, or you can easily manage your time, manage your 45 minutes, which is allocated for each section, simply by sticking to our answering technique. So if you missed out on previous week's webinar, please go watch it. Then you will learn the necessary answering and time management technique, which will ensure a pass at your upcoming sitting. And not practicing mocks under simulated exam conditions is a killer. I've dealt with a lot of students who end up failing because they do not attempt each mock exam under exam conditions. So there are students who will attempt section number 1 of a certain mock exam today, section number 2 tomorrow, section number 3 day after tomorrow, and likewise. Whereas at the exam, you have to sit in one place 3 hours at a stretch and attempt 4 sections in one go, which is not easy. So you have to be accustomed to a similar situation when practicing your mock exams. You cannot expect to, attempt your mock exams on a section by section basis, taking breaks between sections and whatnot. Whereas at the exam, you are supposed to attempt all 4 sections, one after the other, across 3 hours. So when attempting mock exams, it's essential that you do it under simulated exam conditions. If so, you will master your answering and time management techniques under a time-pressured environment. And at the same time, you would be exposed to stressful situations. And whenever you are exposed to a stressful situation, you'd know what to do to overcome such a stressful situation, because in a little while, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques as well. So if you, when conducting your preparations, if you attempted your mock exams on a section by section basis, if you were simply reading through the questions and referring to the suggested answers rather than really attempting each of your mock exams, you need to avoid all these shortcomings and make sure that this time you attempt each mock exam under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. And most students, when going through the answers, and as per the examiner's reports, most students lack good understanding about the theoretical elements. This is quite normal between students who are coming through an exemption route. So if you had completed your OTQs, you have already championed your theories. You already know your theoretical elements. You need not worry about this element. Yet, if you are coming through an exemption route and if you gained less than 70 marks, it indicates that you have gaps in theoretical knowledge. So before you sit for the next OCS exam, you need to take steps to bridge these knowledge gaps. And the best way to bridge these knowledge gaps is to simply watch our master classes, because if you try to learn theory on your own, you won't have time to go through all syllabus elements. You won't have time to work on your or improve your application skills. So simply by watching the master classes, you will learn theory easily, and at the same time, you will improve your application skills. And there are issues with application as well, especially when suggesting KPIs, because most of the time there's a tendency for students to memorize KPIs. However, when marking your papers, if your KPI, which you have suggested, is not aligned with what appears within the scenario, then you won't get any marks, because there will be questions in which you are supposed to suggest KPIs with the intention of fixing a certain set of problems faced by the company. So your KPIs should be totally aligned with what is highlighted within each scenario. Your KPI should be developed with the intention of ensuring that the company takes steps to avoid each of the shortcomings which appear under each scenario. So when suggesting KPIs, you need to work on your logic. There's absolutely no point of memorizing these elements. So you need to master your application. And the best way to master your application is to attempt all 6 mocks under exam conditions, watch the master classes to learn theory and application skills. And once you have gained the appropriate level of technical and application knowledge, test your knowledge by redeveloping answer plans. And relying on past exam variants is a problem as well, because most students think that they can simply pass by referring to past exam variants or past papers. As I mentioned earlier, past exam variants are totally irrelevant to your present case study, because these are based on different case studies or different pre-scenes. So when conducting your preparations, it's essential that you gain access to exam standard and pre-scene specific mock exams. And you wouldn't have conducted your revision appropriately last time, because you need to, after attempting each mock exam, you need to conduct revision. When conducting revision, you have to evaluate between your answer and the suggested answer. You need to understand what your answer was like and what you should have developed by referring to the suggested answers. So if you go for the premium pack, you need not refer to the suggested answers, because we have provided answer plans. So this makes your life easy to understand what you should have included within the answer. So when conducting your revision, you need to redevelop answer plans, and your revision does not stop there. After you have redeveloped your answer plans, you have to compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's answer plans. This is the best type of revision you have to be involved with. If you're doing this, you are always evaluating the quality of your answer against the suggested answer, against the answer plans, and then you'd understand your knowledge gaps, issues with application, and then you can take steps to overcome these issues. Okay, and non-adherence to a study plan is a problem as well, because most students wait until the last 2 weeks to start their preparations. Within 2 weeks, you can attempt all 6 mock exams. However, you won't have enough time to conduct your revision. Without conducting your revision, without reworking your answer plans, you won't overcome your issues. So don't expect to pass this examination simply by going through the 6 mock exams or simply by attempting the 6 mock exams. You have to also focus your attention towards revision, which is to redevelop answer plans, because if you redevelop answer plans, then you are taking steps to overcome your issues. So these are the common reasons which leads to a failure. And when conducting your personal reflection, try to figure out whether you encountered these problems as well. And now you know what type of steps you need to take to avoid these issues when conducting your preparations focused on the upcoming OCS exam happening in February. And avoid these deflections in the upcoming 4 weeks because this leads to a time wastage. Most students try to rely on predictions, and those who rely on predictions end up being disappointed at the real exam. Most students think that certain syllabus elements will not be tested at the exam, which is not the case. I took you through examiner's comments. The examiner specifically mentioned the fact that any syllabus element can be tested at your exam. So there's absolutely no point of relying on predictions. As I've mentioned throughout this webinar series, the Cima examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. In a real-life corporate environment, can you predict what the company is going to face, the type of issues the company is going to face, or the type of opportunities that the company is trying to exploit? Can you predict anything? You can't. So a similar approach applies to your real examination as well. You cannot predict the type of questions which will be thrown at you, or the type of scenarios which will be tested at the exam. So you need to be open-minded. So in order to achieve a high level of open-mindedness, simply forget about predictions, attempt all 6 mock exams, then you can make sure that you have gone through all syllabus elements when conducting your preparations. And excessive industry analysis is a killer as well. There's absolutely no point of analyzing the industry excessively. Simply refer to our annotated pre-scene and watch the pre-scene analysis videos. Other than that, you are not supposed to spend any time on conducting your own research about the chosen industry, because at this level, at the operational level, you are playing the role of a finance officer who is located at the lowest level of the organization. You are involved with implementing the decisions which are taken by the board members. So the board members should be conversant with what happens within the industry. You are not expected to have the same type of understanding, because you are simply on a daily basis implementing the decisions which are taken by board members. So don't waste any time to analyze your industry, because it is not aligned with your job role. So simply watch the pre-scene analysis videos and refer to the annotated pre-scene. That's the only thing which you need to do to gain an understanding about what happens within your industry. And misguided use of past papers is a problem as well. As I mentioned earlier, past papers are based on different pre-scenes. So there's absolutely no point of going through these mock exams, because then you won't understand the logic behind each answer, because each answer's logic is aligned with the pre-scene. So when you are referring to a totally different pre-scene, you won't understand why certain answers have been developed, the logic behind it. And on top of that, the syllabus elements which can be tested are based on the pre-scene document. So the budgeting systems, the costing systems, as well as the internal dynamics will be totally irrelevant to your pre-scene if you refer to past exam variants which are based on different pre-scene documents. So don't waste your time trying to go through past exam variants. Instead, simply focus your attention towards attempting pre-scene specific mock exams. And information overload is a problem as well, because closer to the exam, you will start to panic. And because of that, although I'm asking you to simply to stick to our study plan, which is to attempt the 6 mock exams and conduct your revision focused on the 6 mock exams, you will try to go through exam variants. You will try to go through past exam variants. You will try to go through your study texts, your theoretical elements and whatnot. You are not expected to do all these things, because this will throw you off your preparation strategy, because you just have 4 weeks at your disposal. Within these 4 weeks, you should only focus on attempting the mock exams and conducting your revision focused on the same mock exams. There's absolutely no point of doing anything else. If you do so, you'd end up wasting a lot of time. And overemphasis on the exam blueprint makes no sense as well, because all elements which appear within the exam blueprint are covered within our webinar series. So if you attended our weekly webinars, you know what I'm talking about. We have covered all elements which appear under the exam blueprint. Actually speaking, the examiner's comments were taken from the exam blueprint. So you need not go through it and conduct your own research. Simply watch the recorded versions of the webinars which we have conducted if you had missed out on the weekly webinars we conducted across the previous 3 weeks. All right, so avoid these deflections. Simply focus on attempting the 6 mocks and conducting revision focused on the same 6 mock exams. Okay, so what are you expected to do to develop a high level of confidence before the examination? Simply stick to the study plan. Watch the recorded version of webinar number 1 to gain access, to gain an understanding of what you need to do in the upcoming weeks, and refer to the study plan via our website. And if you're yet to start your preparations, as I mentioned earlier, simply drop me a message. I will get in touch with you, and based on your needs, I will develop a personalized study plan. And if you stick to this study plan, you can ensure that you conduct all your preparations without any hiccups. And it's best that you stick to a routine in the upcoming weeks. Focus your attention towards waking up and sleeping at a predetermined time. And at the same time, focus your attention towards your daily meal intake. Have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner at predetermined times as well. If so, you are taking steps to relax your body. When you are relaxing physically, your brain functions will improve. So at least in the upcoming 4 weeks, at least in the upcoming month, focus your attention towards sticking to a routine. Then you are in a position to manage your stress levels, manage your brain functions, manage your physical activities in an effective manner. So stick to a routine. And at the same time, when practicing mock exams, practice each mock exam under simulated exam conditions. So use our mock exam platform. And when attempting mock exams, do it in isolation, because at your real examination, there won't be any disturbances, hopefully. And you'd have to sit in one place 3 hours at a stretch and attempt the entire exam in one go. So when attempting each of your mock exams, try to replicate a similar methodology. Attempt mocks in isolation, and stick to the exam technique routine when attempting each of your mock exams. So 25 minutes should be allocated towards reading and answer planning, and 20 minutes should be allocated towards typing the answers. And you are supposed to stick to the same methodology at your real examination. So when you implement these techniques for the first time, you won't be able to develop answer plans within 20 minutes. You'd take 40 to 45 minutes. But by the time you are in mock number 4, your practice will ensure that you are in a position to manage your time effectively, that you are in a position to develop answer plans within just 20 minutes. And when you know for a fact that you have championed this technique, you will walk into the exam with a high level of confidence, knowing the fact that you have covered all syllabus elements, knowing the fact that you will never run out of time, and knowing the fact that you know what to do to develop well-structured and high-quality answers. So these are the things which you need to do before the exam to develop a high level of confidence. So stick to a study plan, stick to a routine, practice each mock exam under exam conditions, and when doing so, master your answering and time management techniques. If you do these things, you will walk into your exam with a high level of confidence, knowing very well that you have covered all theoretical elements, you have worked on your application skills, you know how to manage your time, and you know how to develop answers which are well structured and totally aligned with each requirement. Okay. All right. So now let's try to understand what you need to do to manage your stress levels. So when attempting each of your mock exams, as per our 8-week study plan, you should have, attempted 1 or 2 mock exams by now. Then you know what I'm talking about. And if you had, attempted the OCS exam previously, you know what I'm talking about. It's not easy to sit in one place 3 hours at a stretch without, you will definitely be exposed to stressful situations. So let's try to understand what we need to do to manage these stressful situations. So before I, explain to you what you should do to overcome these stressful situations, let's try to understand why we get stressed. Okay, so we get stressed mainly because of the way in which our brain functions. Okay, so human beings, when we are supposed to be involved with rational decision making, when we are supposed to do something creative, or when we are supposed to come up with solutions to a certain set of problems, we are supposed to utilize our prefrontal cortex, which is the front part of our brain. So if we are utilizing our front part of the brain or the prefrontal cortex, we'll come up with the best type of decisions, we'll come up with the best type of solutions to problems, and we will do something extremely creative. However, the problem with the prefrontal cortex is when we are operating under time pressured environments, there's a tendency for the prefrontal cortex to switch off once it had worked for something like 45 minutes. So after 45 minutes, your prefrontal cortex will switch off. Because of that, you would be exposed to a certain type of stress. And when the brain is telling you, when the prefrontal cortex is telling you to take a break, still, when you keep doing the same thing, when you try to keep fighting the stressful situation, when you're trying to keep moving forward, your stresses will increase. So these extreme levels of stress will expose you to something called brain freeze. Brain freeze is a situation where you cannot think anything. You are trying to, let's assume you are, attempting your real examination and you are exposed to a stressful situation. You are trying to fight through it. And by trying to do so, you are exposed to extreme levels of stress. Extreme levels of stress leads to brain freeze. When you are exposed to brain freeze, nothing comes into your mind. You are trying to read through a scenario, but nothing goes into your head. You are trying to develop an answer, but you can't understand what's wrong with you. You cannot develop an answer. So this happens simply given the fact that your brain functions shift from your prefrontal cortex to a small part of your brain, which is known as the amygdala. So when your amygdala kicks in, it gives you the fight or flight response. So a fight or flight response, you'd experience a fight or flight response, which is, in other words, the brain is telling you to either fight the stressful situation or move away from the stressful situation. This is known as a fight or flight response. So in your daily lives, when you are exposed to a stressful situation, let's assume you are working at office, you are concentrating on something, and all of a sudden, after some time, you are exposed to a stressful situation. So the brain is asking you to either to fight the stressful situation or take flight or move away from the stressful situation. So at office, you can go for the flight option because you can always take a break. If you are exposed to a stressful situation, you can go grab a cup of coffee or have a cup of tea, or you can have a chat with your colleagues, or if you are into smoking, you can smoke a cigarette, or you can do anything to rest your brain. But at the exam, can you do this? You can't, because you have to attempt all 4 sections in one go across 3 hours. You cannot move away from the stressful situation. So the flight option is not at your disposal. The only option at your disposal is to fight the stressful situation. So what are you supposed to do to fight the stressful situation? You are supposed to practice these 2 techniques which I've highlighted in here. All right. So whenever you are exposed to a stressful situation, always make sure that you practice these 2 techniques with the intention of ensuring that you are thinking through your prefrontal cortex, not through your amygdala. Because if you do so, you'll be exposed to brain freeze and you won't be in a position to come up with answers and manage your time, manage your answer structures and whatnot. Okay, so first things first, the best way to ensure that you are thinking through your prefrontal cortex is to stick to our answering technique, because as per our answering technique, you are not expected to complete these 3 activities together. Instead, you are allocating a separate amount of time for reading, a separate amount of time for planning, and a separate amount of time for typing, rather than trying to multitask. Because when you are under a time pressured environment, you cannot multitask. Our brains are not supposed to function in such a manner. So rather than trying to multitask, stick to our answering technique, allocate 5 minutes to read, 20 minutes to plan, and 20 minutes to type. And if you stick to this answering technique, it's as if you are taking a break at the very end of each section, during the last 20 minutes of each section, it's as if you are taking a break. What am I talking about? So you are supposed to allocate 5 minutes to read, which is tough. You need to read through the entire scenario and the reference material, thereby understanding what appears within the scenario. You are supposed to also understand the requirement clearly. Then allocate 20 minutes for planning. Again, this is tough. You need to do it utilizing your prefrontal cortex or the front part of your brain. If so, you will come up with the best type of answers which are totally aligned with the scenario and the requirement. However, when it comes to typing, you already know what you should include within the answer because you have already developed an answer plan or an answer structure. So when it comes to typing, your life is easy because it's simply a matter of expanding the answer plan. So since you have already planned out your answer, when it comes to typing, it's as if you are relaxing your brain. You are not being exposed to the same type of stressors when you are typing out your answer. So at the end of each section, during the last 20 minutes of each section, it's as if you are resting your brain if you stick to our answering technique. So this is the best way to manage your stress during your examination, because as I mentioned earlier, when you are operating under a time pressured environment, your prefrontal cortex will only function for 45 minutes. After 45 minutes, the brain will ask you to take a break. So by sticking to this answering technique, you are ensuring that you are not utilizing your prefrontal cortex in its entirety across 45 minutes. You are simply using your prefrontal cortex for 25 minutes. Then you are taking a break. And when you are in section number 2, it's as if you are working with a fresh brain or a refreshed brain. So this is the best way to manage your stressful situations, simply by sticking to our answering technique. Although this is the case, as I mentioned earlier, there could be questions which are intended to throw you off your preparation strategy, not the preparation strategy, your exam strategy. So, I highlighted the fact that the examiner is not just testing your theoretical knowledge and application skills. The examiner is also testing whether you are capable of managing a stressful situation, and with the intention of testing whether you can manage your stressors. A certain subtask, 1 or 2 subtasks will appear within your paper, which are intended to throw you off your strategy. So what are you expected to do? Even after sticking to this answering technique with the intention of managing a stressful situation, if you still encounter stress, you need to take steps to switch off the amygdala. Because as I mentioned earlier, if you are exposed to a stressful situation, your prefrontal cortex is not working. Instead, you are thinking through your amygdala. So you need to take steps to switch off the amygdala. If so, brain functions will shift back to your prefrontal cortex. So with the intention of switching out your amygdala, there's only one thing you can do, which is to focus on your breathing. So close your eyes for 2 minutes whenever you are encountering a stressful situation. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. When inhaling, inhale through your nose. When exhaling, exhale through your mouth. And when inhaling, count to 3 slowly. And when exhaling, again, count to 3 slowly. So when inhaling, do it through your mouth, through your nose. Count to 3 slowly. In this space, 1, 2, 3. And when exhaling, do the same thing. Exhale through your mouth, count into 3 slowly. 1, 2, 3. So you are supposed to do this for 2 minutes. You might think that I'm asking you to waste your time, which is not the case, because you are taking steps to make sure that your brain functions in a successful manner, rather than letting the amygdala win. So the only way to switch off your amygdala is to do this exercise. You won't get this right when you implement it for the first time. That's exactly why I want you to keep practicing these techniques across the remaining mock exams. In this week, you are supposed to focus your attention towards mock number 3, if you are sticking to our 8-week study plan. And whenever you are encountering a stressful situation, practice this technique. If so, across the when you practice this technique across all the remaining mock exams, you will champion this technique. If so, you will be extremely successful when it comes to managing your stress levels at your real exam. So do this whenever you are exposed to a stressful situation. Also, take a 2-minute break between tasks. Most of our students who end up getting more than 100 marks are known to do this. Okay, so what you are supposed to do is, let's assume you are done with section number 1. Before starting section number 2, the first step is to read through the scenario. So before reading through the scenario, you are supposed to focus on your breathing for 2 minutes. When you do this, you are making sure that you are refreshing your brain. You are making sure to rest your brain. If so, you will think utilizing your prefrontal cortex. So you are making sure that all your brain functions are shifted back to the prefrontal cortex when doing this. So stick to the exam technique, answering technique. If you do so, towards the last 20 minutes of each section, you are taking a break, you are resting your brain. And on top of that, before starting the next section, when you focus on your breathing for 2 minutes, you are all again making sure to take a break and shift your brain functions to your prefrontal cortex, or the front part of your brain. You can also drink some water with the intention of calming your nerves, because when you drink water, you are intaking an additional amount of oxygen, and this oxygen will pump into your brain and it will help release the tension. However, if you're attempting the exam at home, you can't do this, because you are not supposed to have a water bottle at your disposal. And in certain examination centers, you cannot carry a water bottle. So don't totally rely on drinking water when you are exposed to a stressful situation. Simply stick to our answering technique and take steps to switch off your amygdala. Practice these techniques across the remaining mock exams. If so, you will be extremely comfortable at your real examination. You will never run out of time. You will structure high quality answers, and at the same time, you will manage your stressful situations throughout the examination in a successful manner. Because those who had attempted a Cima case study before know what I'm talking about. You'd be comfortable in the first 2 sections, but from section number 3 onwards, you'd be exposed to extreme levels of fatigue. Usually, when marking papers, I see a tendency where students try to give up. The students tend to give up towards the last 2 sections. The marks which students gain towards the last 2 sections are extremely low. Why is this the case? Because of fatigue. When fatigue sets in, you'd be exposed to extreme levels of stress. So the only way to make sure that you remain calm and composed across all 4 sections is to stick to our answering technique. And whenever you encounter a stressful situation, focus on your breathing to switch off your amygdala. If you do so, you will be extremely comfortable at your real examination. You will never run out of time. You will come up with, you will develop well-structured answers, and you will manage your stresses appropriately as well. Okay, so that's what I wanted to highlight within this webinar. And you might be attempting the exam at home. If so, go to this link and get your bearings with the Pearson VUE system on which you are supposed to attempt your real exam. After this webinar, I will share this link with you. And I'm happy to say that we achieved a 96% pass rate for the August sitting. We are still in the process of compiling all the information and pass rates for the session which happened in November, but almost all the students had passed. We are proud to say that almost all the students passed, and not just passed, they passed with flying colors. Already, I've received news that 6 of our students had gained more than 100 marks when the pass mark was just 80. And they achieved this simply by sticking to our study plan and practicing the answering, time management, and stress management techniques when attempting each of the 6 mock exams. So I expect you to stick to a similar methodology with the intention of acing your OCS exam, which is happening in February 2025. Okay, so I've been talking for the past 1 hour and 20 minutes. So it's now your time to talk. So if you have any questions, you can raise them. Simply switch on your mic and talk, or drop a message via the chat. I'm going to pause the recording. All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So I'm going to wind up the session. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Go to our website and click on the contact button and drop your message in here. Our admin staff will get in touch with you during office hours via email. You can also email us at info@study@tcs.com or WhatsApp us on this number. And I invite you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of the webinars and workshops which we conduct on a weekly basis will be uploaded to our YouTube handle. And via TikTok, you'd gain access to a set of videos, which is a good mind map of the entire pre-scene. So keep watching these videos over and over in the upcoming 4 weeks when on your way to office, for instance, with the intention of constantly keeping yourself reminded about what appears within your pre-scene document. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're yet to kickstart your preparations, you still have time. Simply get in touch with us via our WhatsApp number, or you can drop us a message via our WhatsApp group as well. And I will get in touch with you. And based on your specifications, I will help you to develop a study plan. And if you stick to the study plan, I can ensure that you'd pass your examinations happening in February. And having said that, it brings us to the end of the session. So thank you very much for joining. And if you missed out on any of our webinars, please go watch the recorded versions, especially the third webinar, which was conducted last week, which is essential. And from next week onwards, we are kickstarting the workshop series. So I expect to see you guys at these workshops as well. So thank you very much for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.